West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 6 a.m. on this Friday, May 16th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history. Let's kick it off. We got a lot to talk about. What in the world was James Comey thinking yesterday when he posted a picture of shells arranged on a beach that read 8647. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Secret Service now investigating the former FBI director. Why does it matter? 86 is a slang term that can mean to get rid of, and some use it to mean to kill. What was James Comey thinking? We're going to talk about that. Plus, Starbucks protesters. I got so many messages about this, Bill. Starbucks employees protesting over dress code requirements? What? We'll get into that in a little bit. Trump's Middle East trip wraps up. Was it a big success? It was a big change from the previous administrations of Obama, Bush, and Biden. Do you think Donald Trump delivered big for the United States of America? Plus, Walmart raising its prices because of tariffs. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Jimmy Sengenberger is going to join us on his latest piece in the Denver Gazette. So this is a day that's all about you. We want to hear from you. Give us a call. Join the conversation. Phone line 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. But now it's time for your Friday morning dose of news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, 44 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 71 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story. America first, threatened by corrupt lefty commies like former FBI Director James Comey, who posted a photo of seashells, as Jeff just mentioned, on the seashore, spelling out 8647, meaning kill President Trump. 86 him. You know what it means. Everybody knows what it means. He quickly took it down, and then he said he didn't realize what he was doing. Really? Are you kidding me? This is inexcusable. He's the former FBI director. He knows what it meant. And this was a threat on DJT's life. At the least, it incites the nut jobs out there willing to do it. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, on Fox last night.
Whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who is issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with a crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So whatever James Comey intent, he and people like him need to be held to account according to the law, which is something that he claims to have given his life for and stands by the rule of law. Fantastic. The rule of law says people like him who issue direct threats against the President of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
So should he be in jail?
I do. Any other person with the position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
On Jesse Waters last night, Comey did whatever he could to destroy DJT 10 years ago and General Mike Flynn, and somehow Flynn survived this crooked, corrupt POS James Comey.
I mean, these people, I know that they talk about these things. So there's a group of people that talk, they discuss this because it's like, what do we want to do? We can destroy this guy. And then all of a sudden, I start to fight back. We started to fight back, and I completely changed my whole I changed my legal team. I changed our strategy. Huge gamble. And we started to fight back. And when we did, we started winning. And then we eventually won. And I know that there are conversations, and primarily outside of the government, that says, what do we want to do about a guy like Flynn? What do they want to do about a guy like Trump? They tried to kill him twice. He's as a candidate. I mean, his life is always at risk.
Flynn on Benny Johnson a few months ago with that. And then, hey, thanks to Maze Moore, who put the shells 8647 above this video of James Comey, in his own words a few years ago, practice what you preach, Comey, you dirtbag.
The FBI is fighting a fire of racist violence, and with words like that, the president is using a fire hose to spray gasoline on that fire. Spraying gasoline with a fire hose, it creates a dangerous blaze for all of us, not just people of color, but for every community in America that has these thugs and criminals have a presence there ought to worry about this. And the president of the United States should be charged with tamping it down, not letting it free.
Gaslighter, what a projector, unbelievable projections. DJT, so the president is in the United Arab Emirates for the final day of the Middle East trip. We don't have a comment from him yet on Truth Social or any media about this yet. I haven't seen it. He started the day at a business roundtable touting deals and investments with U.S. health, aviation, and energy firms. Trump also said he'd like to meet with Russian President Putin as soon as possible to talk about ending Moscow's war with Ukraine. The Army Staff Sergeant accused of selling cocaine at the Colorado Springs Underground nightclub raided by the DEA faces release. A federal judge ordered Juan Gabriel Arona Rodriguez to appear dressed for release today for a bond release hearing. Arona Rodriguez, who was present at the April 27th raid, was arrested May 1st by FBI special agents for allegedly selling cocaine. He was one of 17 active duty service members at the club during the raid.
So, Blake, with that,
yes,
he's
sir.
been now released, the Fort Carson soldier accused of cocaine distribution, set now to be released with conditions. And I posted this on X. I'm pretty sure that the only person that's in jail in Colorado at this point is Tina Peters.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody else seems to get out
9 times longer than anyone else.
A soldier at an illegal nightclub
times.
with cocaine? You're good.
No problem.
Run into an innocent 24-year-old woman, kill her 90 miles an hour, here illegally, here without a license, take your mom's car uninsured. Oh, you're good. You're out.
Yeah, you're all right. You're okay. Well, let's keep Peters in there to save the communities in Colorado from the danger that she poses. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Nuggets were facing elimination last night in the second round of the playoffs.
Strother, of course, the Julian Strother game.
Julian Strother off the bench with 15. Jamal Murray was sick and still had 25 points. Jokic, 27, 119-104. Game 7 Sunday in Oklahoma City. That is going to be extremely difficult for them to win that game. We'll see if they can do it. Former Avalanche defenseman Adam Foote, the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. 42 in Thornton, 40 in Castle Rock, 44 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. TGIF. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
A quiet day along the Front Range will make the low to mid-70s and partly cloudy, mid to upper 40s tonight. 70s on Saturday with not many, but Saturday afternoon and evening, a few widely scattered thunderstorms possible. Lower 70s Sunday with thunderstorm chances much higher. Sunday afternoon and evening and Sunday night. Highs low 70s, 40s Sunday night, cooler Monday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 60s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, I want to hear from you on this. Former FBI Director James Comey blasted over cryptic post on Trump, Axios reporting. The U.S. Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security are investigating former FBI Director James Comey's Instagram post of shells arranged on a beach that read 8647. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has said, "Why does this matter? 86 is a slang term that can mean to get rid of, and some use it to mean to kill." Something President Trump's elder son, Donald Trump Jr., posted to X as he shared a screenshot of Comey's since deleted post with the comment, "Just James Comey casually calling for my dad to be murdered." Comey wrote in the post accompanying the photo to his 130,000 Instagram followers, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." A trend has emerged of posting the number 86 alongside 47, reflecting Trump's current term in the historical number of U.S. presidents as a means of resistance, the Detroit Free Press has noted. Comey said in an updated post he assumed the shells were a political message. Yeah, the idea that he just stumbled, give me a break. But didn't realize some folks associated those numbers with violence. The former FBI director, the guy who's supposed to be at the top of the investigation organization, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, right? The FBI, didn't know what 86 means. Disgraced former FBI Director James Comey just called for the assassination of Trump, Kristi Noem said on X last night. DHS and Secret Service is investigating this threat and will respond appropriately. A spokesperson from the U.S. Secret Service said that they are vigorously investigating anything that can be taken as a potential threat against our protectees. She added, "We take this responsibility very seriously, and we are aware of the social media posts in question. Beyond that, we do not comment on protective intelligence matters." Kash Patel saying on X that the Bureau is aware of Comey's post and is in communication with the U.S. Secret Service. Primary jurisdiction is with the Secret Service on these matters, and we, the FBI, will provide all necessary support. So a few areas I want to explore on this bill and get your thoughts. When I go down to these protests, just about every time I've been down there, there's been a call for the murder of the president of the United States. And oftentimes Elon Musk around there. I have audio. If you go watch some of my videos where I go, "Are you calling for the execution of the president of the United States?" And they go, "Yes, I am." So I run into that almost every time I go to one of these progressive anti-Trump protests down there. People calling for the beheading of the president or of Elon Musk. So I run into this regularly among the radical left. And I want to pair that with, when Joel Altman makes comments, for instance, about stringing up our elected officials as traitors. They need to be hung.
Or maybe showing up at the Capitol on January 6th and erecting a gallows.
With Mike Pence, right?
And chanting the fact that they chanted, the crowd chanted, kill Mike Pence. That's on audio, and that's not inside the Capitol. Those are the peaceful protesters that are just gathering lovingly with joy in their heart outside the Capitol that are chanting that. We got to keep that in mind.
But I mean, when Joel mentioned that, Channel 9 and the media, aghast that they would call for the execution of the governor here in Colorado. Do you think James Comey deserves to be investigated over this?
I'm sure if it floats your boat. Yeah. I see that we're drawing a lot of assumptions on this. One, the assumption that he created it. You're going to have to show me that he created it because...
Oh, man. You think he just stumbled upon this on a
beach?
beach?
Here's the thing is, I don't think Comey is the sharpest fork in the drawer because of how he comported himself when he was in the director of the FBI. But I don't believe that he is dumb enough or self-serving enough to be one of those people that does things like, I was at a restaurant today and my 5-year-old daughter asked about quantum physics. She's a genius. No, she didn't. Shut up. I don't think that he is of the ilk to invent something like this and then try to pass it off as, I just found this. Isn't this weird? I believe that if he's this self-serving, that he would post it and say, sounds like an interesting idea. Does this have a point? I don't believe that he would try to not take ownership of it if he felt he was clever enough to put it on the beach. It just seems like, given what he's done in the past, that just seems a little bit outside. Now, do I think that if he runs across it, or it could even be a friend or a family member, it could be someone with him. The idea that we are ascribing it specifically to him, I just find questionable, but I understand why emotionally people want to make that attachment. But if we're going to talk about whether or not a crime was committed, we're going to have to show that he then created that, in my opinion. I think it is stupid for him to place that on social media and even ask a question about it. I think it's phenomenally stupid. Yeah, should he be investigated? Yes. Is there going to be anything that's going to come of it? No. What's going to become of it? He's not going to have probably any fomented plans. This is one statement that was made on social media that he then deleted. It doesn't seem to make this over and over again. And the other thing I need to remind people is that we have a long, long list in recent decades of people in private and public life calling for the assassination of other public figures. Barack Obama received 3 times as many death threats during his presidency as any previous presidents. 3 times as many. And we had a laundry list of people that were calling for the death and were even sentenced for calling for the death and trying to kill Joe Biden. Yeah. This is where we have gone. We go back to Sarah Palin talking about we may need Second Amendment solutions. There was, and I'll have to see if I can remember who the candidate was that was running in a congressional seat that talked about the idea that if we don't win at the ballot box, what remedies do we have left? And they were talking about the purchase of guns at the time. This is where our rhetoric is going. This is absolutely where our rhetoric is going. And there are lots of people that talked about the idea that Joe Biden should be shot. We have people that talk about the idea that Democrats should be shot because they're Democrats. We have people that are waiting for a revolution in this country, and we have the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers that tried to change the government and had a plan to do it through force that then were convicted and pardoned for it. This is where we are.
And, Bill, you had 2 actual assassination attempts against Donald Trump.
Yes.
Like bullets whizzing by his head.
That conservatives ascribe Democrats are responsible for. Because I hear it all the time. They tried to assassinate Donald Trump, not 2 people.
In that case, they're using the words to include those opposed to Trump.
which
those
would be
opposed to Trump.
Democrat. Yeah, so
Right,
the idea is that
tried
there's
to assassinate him.
It's like the idea that there is this large group that gets together. Okay, guys, how are we going to try to knock him off today? Like it's Pinky in the Brain. What are we going to do tonight, Brain? Same thing we do every night. Try to assassinate the Donald Trump. Why?
With regards to why or who they were planning to. But when they referred to the word they're talking about the opponents of Donald Trump have tried to kill him twice now.
2 people have. Not the grand scheme of the opponents. Yeah, we do so far. We don't have anything. You think that if Pam Bondi had discovered a large plot against Donald Trump, that would be a secret right now? You think that would be a secret? She would immediately run to Fox News and say, we've uncovered what could be a plot that is involved with placing this gentleman here so that he could shoot the president. We have discovered a plot inside the Secret Service that this could happen. We are doing a full investigation. She's been in front of the camera all the time. If she had that, she'd be in front of the camera talking about it. She's not holding that back. It'd be there.
But Bill, this language is resulting in direct efforts, millimeters difference.
Yes.
Of actually trying to kill the president of the United States. And this is not some redneck making these comments. This is the former FBI director who MSNBC loves to have on. And I see it at every protest I go. Not veiled threats, not kind of, Second Amendment. No, like now is time to kill this guy at protests on a regular basis coming from the radical left.
Yeah, and coming from the conservatives during the Biden administration had the same thing.
Where?
We had...
regular protests?
Yes.
Regularly calling for the assassination of Joe Biden.
On this radio station, I dealt with callers and text messages of people saying that Joe Biden needed to die. Dealt with it, yes.
I have not seen that. I've been here. I've looked at the same text messages you do.
This is private. This is previous. This is during Peter Boyles. This is during Peter Boyles because that's the ramp up. That's when Biden's in power. When I'm sitting in this chair with Peter Boyles, callers and text messages talking about the fact that Joe Biden needed to be killed. That this may be the only way that we are going to stop the march of the communists and the Marxists from taking over. That we have to take up our guns. We better be ready for this. Again, over and over again, this is where we've gone with our rhetoric. I think Comey's wrong, but the idea that we're ascribing this to one group or the other is flat out incorrect because both groups, both the conservatives and liberals,
same rate, same level, same commitment.
Yeah,
on
fairly
both
similar.
sides.
Yeah, and only because, and here's the reason, is remember who's the one that loves the guns. It's the conservatives that talk about the idea that they're ready for the revolution. We've heard it here. You and I have heard it here in our own show about people talking about getting ready for a revolution.
No, I mean,
but I'm saying, and what I'm saying is this: is that
I don't think that's true.
Yes.
No.
We've had people call. Yes. Yeah, and there are protests when people talk about the idea that Biden should have died. Yes, absolutely. Yes. It's language on both sides. Yes. That's the issue. It's
Bill,
not one versus the other.
Every single weekend I go to these protests, there's calls. I mean, Bill, we could go through these texts. There's no calls for the assassination on these text messages here.
That's because Donald Trump's in power.
And we've been here for a year and a half. We were here while Joe Biden was here.
But we did
for
have
9 months. I never saw that.
People.
It's every weekend I go down to those protests. There's calls for the death of the president.
We have had conversations and we have had text messages talking about the assassinations.
2 different efforts to shoot the president of the United States.
You and I had a conversation here on the air with a caller when I asked the caller directly, who were they going to shoot in the revolution? You and I were on the air, and the person didn't have an answer. But they were talking about if this march towards communism and Marxism continues, that we are going to have to take the matters into our own hands. We've had people on this, while we have been on the air, talking about it might be time to start shooting the Democrats. Yes.
No, they have not.
Yes, they have.
Bill, it's every weekend down there.
Yes, they have.
It's every weekend down at these protests. These are not the same. And
have you gone again? I am certain that if we go down to conservative protests, we can find at least one person in the crowd that would give voice to the same thing. The issue is, I'm trying to talk about the idea that both sides do it. This is where our rhetoric is. And standing here and saying it's the libs calling for this is not only calling for this is not factually correct. And it actually ignores the core problem where our rhetoric has risen to. This goes on both sides. Donald Trump supporters showed up at the Capitol chanting to kill his vice president.
And that was wrong. 100% wrong.
And that's what I'm telling you is both sides say this.
No, it's both sidesism. I fundamentally disagree that this is somehow equal on both sides. It's not equal on both sides.
I'm telling you, both sides are doing it and doing it regularly.
While it may happen on both sides, the radical left is far more committed to the use of violence against their political opponents than the right is. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen on the right, okay? But I'm telling you, it is vastly different. And what you see on the left is almost a daily effort, or at least a weekly effort, I see, with these videos that I have documented of people calling for the assassination of the president. And then you have 2 instances where people grabbed guns and actually shot at Donald Trump. All right, we've got full phone lines, or we've got some phone lines. We do have, you can call in and join the conversation if you want. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line. Let's go to Tony in Littleton. Good morning, Tony. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. It is true that political violence is on the rise. I think Pew did a survey, and it was something like 25% of the population believed that political violence is acceptable. It was interesting that 33 and 34%, the 2 highest groups, one was religious groups, and one was hard right, were the 33, 34. Then all kinds of other groups were something sub 25 to cause that rate to be at 25%. So there is a wide acceptance. You are talking anecdotally of what you see at some of these marches. I think one thing of note is we have hundreds of demonstrations every single week, and so far not one against Trump, not one incident of political violence, no arrests. It's all been peaceful. So whatever you've seen, it's not permeating these broader groups.
Tony, they have fired twice at Donald Trump in an effort to kill him.
Let's go to the day.
Opponents of Donald Trump. Opponents of Donald Trump have tried to kill him.
Let me address that.
Or two guys have pulled the trigger.
Let me address that. The first guy. Remember, that was an opportunity thing. He was researching both Republicans and Democrats, and it happened that Trump was going to be in an area that he felt comfortable working in. He was looking to shoot anybody. He doesn't appear to be Republican or Democrat. The second guy was a registered Republican. That's the facts on both those two. So that's not some big Democratic movement. First guy was opportunity. He wanted to shoot somebody. Didn't matter to him, just the most convenient. Second guy was a Republican. I don't really know, I don't know any more about his motive than that. He's kind of disappeared from the discussion. Now, your talk about how now we've got Comey, and if that was Comey, if he did that, I mean, I would be disgusted by that if he was the one that laid those shells down and all that. Don't know. First I heard of it was you guys, but you don't forget. Remember, it was Donald Trump that raged about Obama, about how bad he was and needed to be gone, and then he gave his Washington address. And then 72 hours later, Secret Services picked up a guy that's trying to get into his house with a machete and a gun. So Trump, if you're after Comey in that way, should you also be after Donald Trump for having motivated the same action?
The guy with the machete? Help me remember that. I don't remember that, Tony.
Donald Trump raged, this is while he was out of office, he raged about Obama, about something. I can't remember what it was. And then gave his Washington address.
Did you call for him to be 86? Do you know what 86 means?
He never says, hey, go shoot somebody. He just implies. He's smart enough with his words. He just implies he needs to be taken out. Look, I mean,
Come on,
He was
Tony.
Okay,
this is a guy that has faced 2 assassination attempts.
And you don't
they
say
have
they
tried
again.
to
Well,
shoot and kill
just
him.
don't go with the they.
And you want to try to equate them?
Just don't go with the they and the Democrats. Again, one was
Never
opportunity.
said the Democrats.
Well, you've been saying they
are the opponents of Donald Trump have tried to kill him. And Tony,
the first guy
just
didn't
about
care
every
who he
protest
killed.
I go to, there are signs down there
I know.
openly
That's what
calling
you
for
say.
the execution.
And so far, not one.
Hey, Tony, how many calls for the
incident.
execution do you think I saw at the March for Life? Zero.
How can you
None of
possibly
them.
defend? How can you have this discussion and then you defend January 6th like it was a day of love?
I don't defend January 6th. They shouldn't have called for the assassination of Mike Pence. That was terrible.
170 people beat on the police, and I've never heard you say they should never have been released. The guys who beat on the police, you talk about the guys in blue and
I've said
talk about how great they
that.
are.
If you hit a
and
cop,
Trump
you should have paid a penalty
170
for
of them
it.
go.
Yep. No, if you hit a cop, you should face some penalty for it. I don't disagree with that. But Tony,
so
in
Trump
this case,
you're saying Trump should
Tony,
never have.
You
Trump
know
should
what
have
you're
never,
doing right now, Tony. You're taking a guy, James Comey, an active opponent of Donald Trump, who said 86-47, and you're going, well, January 6th happened. You're trying to dismiss it because
I'm not dismissing it.
Yes,
I'm
you
saying
are.
if he did. I'm not. If he did it, if they find that he did it, all I know is what you've said. I don't know that he laid it down. If he did, I'm as disgusted by Comey as I am by Trump.
Good.
Absolutely. I think it's a disgusting thing.
But
he
what
should
Trump
never
has
done
done
that.
has never called for the death of anybody. You know that. He's never called for the death of anybody.
All the violence that Trump has called for from his speeches,
when he gave a speech that said peacefully go to the Capitol,
beat those guys up,
And he said, fight,
and I'll pay your legal bills.
That same speech where he said peaceful, he said fight 21 times.
Yeah,
peaceful once, fight 21 times.
Bill, they
Just
say
context.
fight for your values every time you go down to a speech or rally at the Capitol. They use the word fight.
No, he said if you don't fight like hell.
He also said peacefully go.
He said 21 times you have to fight. Fight for your country, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. And all I'm saying is, if you're going to put a speech forward,
did he
hang
say,
on a sec.
Did he say
hang on a
86
sec,
anybody?
Hang on a sec.
No,
hang on a
Bill,
sec. That's
you're,
not Jeff. That's not my point. You're trying to obfuscate the point. I'm not talking about the threat. You put it forth as if it was a peaceful speech meant about love and dreams and happiness. And what I'm pointing out is he said peacefully once and fight 21 times.
Tony was just saying he has called for violence against people, and he specifically referenced that speech.
I am specifically referencing that speech. I'm not dealing with anything Tony was saying, nor anything else. In that speech, he says peacefully once, and he says fight 21 times. If you had to guess about something thematically, if your child brought you an essay...
Do you think he was calling for violence?
Hang on.
Do you think he was calling for violence?
Hang on. I will tell you that in a moment. If your child brought you an essay and thematically you asked them, is this a peaceful speech or one about fighting? And they reference peacefulness once and fighting 21 times, you know where it sits thematically. He was looking to agitate the protesters to create pressure on Congress on the inside. I do not personally believe that he was calling for people to break into the Capitol and do violent things. But he was trying to create pressure in my mind on the outside, a large protest in order to create pressure that way for them to do something he wanted.
You would grant that
That's what
Donald Trump said on January 6th was not the same as what Comey just said.
Here's the thing. I'm not addressing that. I'm addressing your mischaracterization of the speech.
No,
we can deal with that
I'm
later.
fixing the mischaracterization that Tony had of that speech.
I'm dealing with your mischaracterization on that speech. You can continue the conversation with Tony, but it is incorrect to say that was a peaceful speech. It wasn't thematically. It wasn't by any stretch of the imagination.
Bill, it was not an 86-47 style event.
I didn't say it was.
I think you should keep in mind he let the violence go on for a couple hours before he finally called them off. So
Tony, he was texting about it, and you know that X deleted those tweets.
He finally sent a tweet out saying everybody go home, and they all turned out. They said, "Okay, we all go home." But he took hours to do that. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Tony,
that's a fact of
the
that day.
FBI's former director just called for the assassination of Donald Trump, and to true form, you guys jumped to January 6th in an effort to obfuscate the issue. The former FBI director just tried to call for the assassination of Donald Trump. That is
I told you,
wrong.
I'm disgusted by that. However, you cannot deny that Trump has created
Trump didn't do anything close to what James Comey just did.
He's raised it to an art form.
Violence, Tony. All right, we're just
do
running
you
out of
remember
time.
rallies? Do you remember at rallies saying, "Beat that person up, I'll pay for your legal bills"? Do you remember that?
No, I mean, Tony.
No, you don't remember
we're
that.
We're not even in the same ballpark again. You guys do this you have a guy that has been. There's been an effort, Tony.
That was a call for
Tony.
That's a
they
call
have
for
tried
violence.
to kill him twice. They have tried to
MO.
kill him twice, and you guys want to jump to
You keep saying they. You
yes,
keep saying
the
they. You're not
of Donald
You've
Trump.
been told.
All right, Tony, we got to go.
You have been told now. The kid, the first kid, was looking to kill anybody. It was an opportunity. He was hunting down Democrats and Republicans. It was an opportunity for him.
Yeah, I hate to cut you off, Tony, but we do have to go. We got to. I'm not. I don't.
Thanks,
I appreciate you, Tony. Have a good one.
Yep. All right. Woo! We're kicking it off early this morning. We'll get to more phone calls. Look, if you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to the unmatched results. If you got receding hairline, bald spots, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments, and get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the Advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with a team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Boy, there is a lot of text messages coming in here. Join the conversation if you'd like, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Should James Comey be investigated and possibly incarcerated for what he posted on his Instagram account, 8647, yesterday? 8647, others saying 86 means 8 feet or 8 miles out of town, 6 feet under. That's what Chris DeGaulle was saying that meant. Do we have a problem with political rhetoric in this country?
What if
calling for violence?
What if that's not the universal understanding all the time? That's not necessarily, that is part of it. But the 86 also comes from the restaurant industry back in like the 20s and 30s, when you remove something from the menu because you can't serve it anymore, was calling 86ing it. It does not always necessarily mean killing someone through the mob. And that's not, I believe, where that phrase germinated from. So there are other issues. I ran it through Grok AI. Grok says, no, it does not necessarily mean assassination. Said there are other interpretations, and that is not necessarily the dominant one. And that's Elon's machine.
And does it need to be investigated?
Yeah, sure.
To see if that's what James Comey wants. And do you expect better? This guy was the head of the FBI. And if you remember, Donald Trump was the one that got rid of him, in part because of his stupidity. Was Donald Trump right about James Comey all the time? So, happy to have you join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've kicked it off hot this morning as we're debating James Comey.
Yeah, that escalated
his
quickly.
post.
That was fun.
What's that?
That escalated quickly in segment one. That was fun, though. Yeah, I appreciate the phone calls and the text and everybody making fun of me on, off air.
The text messages are all over those
Yeah,
place.
they are. They're fantastic.
Let's go to Jim in Denver. Good morning, Jim. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Listen, if these sick, unstable people are starting to talk about Second Amendment remedies the way they've been talked about over the years. I mean, we talk about Second Amendment remedies. We don't actually shoot Democrats. But we should probably think about a gun confiscation program where the government confiscates guns from Democrats and gives those guns to registered Republicans, the people that really love America. I think this would keep the president from being taken out, and it would probably stop a handful of school shootings a year as well. What do you guys think?
No, I don't think that you should have your guns confiscated because of your political affiliation.
But Democrats are sick, and we're talking about, we've been talking about taking Democrats out and taking their right to vote away, right, and unregistering them from voting. So why couldn't we also take their guns?
Who's talking about that? I'm not. Who's talking about unregistering Democrats to vote?
Oh, it's consistent. I mean, they want motor voter. We don't want motor voter. They want to vote every single time they go to a government office, and we want to take that away from them because they really don't deserve to vote if they're this sick. They're sick people. They're demented. They're Marxists.
I agree that they're Marxists, but I don't know anybody in the conservative movement that's trying to take away the right to vote or their guns because they recognize that if you start basing somebody's gun ownership, which is a right, not a privilege, upon their political affiliation, you're just setting up this country to fall apart.
I'm proposing taking away Democrats' guns and giving them to patriots, Americans that love this
Jim,
country.
I disagree with you on that. I think that there's a lot of lunatics out there in the progressive movement because I run into them all the time. I spend more time down at these protests than pretty much any other journalist, and they're often calling for violence. But if you start basing gun ownership on political affiliation, well, then that Second Amendment's toast. Jim, we got to run. Appreciate the conversation. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
You know, some people take medication to lower their blood pressure. Here we use You Choose the
Whiskey.
News.
Oh, sorry. Okay, You Choose the News. Where are we going with that one? Sorry, I didn't read it. Sorry.
We use that after 45 minutes of debate.
Yes, or just after every show when Jeff has to deal with me. Yeah, it is that time on a Friday where we do the loser edition of You Choose the News. Yes, those stories that were not deemed worthy get a second chance at glory.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Loser! Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser. You are such a loser. Loser.
Yes, under the cover of darkness, when all the people that are responsible for the programming of the station are still asleep, we take full advantage of being left unsupervised and play America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. But on Fridays, we add a little twist. Those stories that were deemed unworthy of our attention by both Jeff and Blake get a second shot at glory. It's the loser edition. Here are the stories the gentleman did not pick earlier this week. Headline number 1, probably Drake Mallard. Headline number 2, fool me once, something something me. Headline number 3, missed it by that much. Seems appropriate today. Okay, sorry. Also, headline number 4, did not see this coming. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Fool me once.
Fool me once, something something me. The partner of Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes says he has raised millions of dollars for artificial intelligence startup hoping to introduce the product that can be used in medical testing. Yes, you may remember the former Silicon Valley star serving an 11-year sentence in federal prison for misleading investors about a blood testing startup. Well, the boyfriend says, me too, me too, me too. In fact, reporting is saying that Miss Holmes is advising him behind the scenes on how to go about this type of startup. About a dozen people are part of the startup so far, some working for the company. Formerly worked with Billy Evans at Lumar Technologies, which develops sensors for autonomous vehicles. That's going to help with the blood testing thing. So, yes, the person that is in prison for a fraud over a blood testing startup has a boyfriend who's doing a blood testing startup. Sure, nothing will go wrong. Sure, this will be just fine. Yeah, what can we possibly infer from
If
this?
you lose your money in this investment, you deserve it.
Yeah, what you should do is just go out today and buy tickets to Firefest. 'Cause that'll be a great investment. That's a great investment. All right. Yes. All right. Now, Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Probably Drake Mallard missed it by that much or did not see this coming.
Missed it by that much.
You are my favorite. Oh, yes. Get smart. It's time to get a little bit smarter this morning. A South Carolina man that was executed last month by firing squad may have actually suffered because those pulling the trigger missed the target. They're supposed to hit him in the heart, and after going through and examining his body, well, they missed. No.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, so we need the cone of silence to talk about this one. Yes. Yeah.
Jeff has no idea
He has no
what
clue
we're
about
talking
the fun that we were having. He has no clue at all. Can't talk about chaos or nothing. Okay, so now the thing is, they say the wounds caused damage to his liver and other internal organs, allowing his heart to keep pumping for a while. They say that it probably suffered a little bit of pain as he was dying. However, I hate to be so callous, but he was sentenced to death. A little bit of pain and suffering on the front end. I'm not necessarily as worried about it. I'm not saying that we need to fillet them per se, but a little bit of suffering on the first end, you're at the end of life anyway. I'm sorry if we stub your toe on the way to the electric chair. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. All righty, Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir. Probably Drake Mallard or did not see this coming?
Did not see this one coming.
Yeah, did not see this coming. Inside of Argentina, in a basement underneath the Supreme Court, they have found dozens and dozens of boxes of Nazi material? Yes, did not see this coming. 83 boxes sent to Germany embassy in Argentina on June of 1941. Came to Argentina aboard a Japanese steamship. At the time, the large shipment drew the attention of authorities. They feared the contents would affect Argentina's neutrality in the war. They really weren't neutral. But despite claims at the time from German diplomatic representatives, the boxes actually did not hold personal items. They were a bunch of propaganda, postcards, photographs to basically start a new Nazi regime inside of Argentina. The boxes were shipped there, 83 of them, to start a propaganda campaign in order to consolidate and propagate Adolf Hitler's ideology during the Second World War inside of Argentina. they decided, well, maybe we'll just hide them all later. Yes. And as a bonus, we have just enough time, probably Drake Mallard. Recently, radar clocked someone going nearly double the speed limit. Turns out it could be Drake Mallard. Or maybe his alternative ID. Yes, his superhero identity. Darkwing Duck. The radar image of the speed offender in central Switzerland revealed, quack, it was a mallard. Yes, police were astounded when the mallard went through the speed trap going nearly twice the posted speed limit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so basically, doing it right about 65 miles per hour. It was in a 30 zone. Yes, that is a fast duck. Now, here's the thing, though. The police believe this duck is likely a repeat offender. They say they've got a number of pictures of this speeding duck that go back as far as 2018. That,
Man.
I know. Evidently, he is really fast. So, yeah. So, again, fast duck. Who knows?
Don't believe the stereotypes.
Yeah, don't believe that at all. All right.
Yep.
Well, that's the end of You Choose the News. We still got a little bit of time here.
Yep.
Here comes the music. Back to you, Jeff.
Coming up in the next hour, we'll continue the conversation. Former FBI Director Comey has been blasted over his post on an Instagram account calling for Donald Trump to be murdered. Maybe not directly, but he said 86-47. What does that mean? And are you concerned with rising rhetorical violence and calls for violence? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, May 16th, 2025. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Here's what we're talking about this morning. We want you to join the conversation. James Comey posts on his Instagram account a group of seashells that are arranged on a beach that read 8647. Okay? 86 is a slur that can mean just to get rid of, but it can also be used as a term to kill something, kill somebody. President Trump's elder son, Donald Trump Jr., posting on X, just James Comey casually calling for my dad to be murdered. Now, is this much ado about nothing? That James Comey, the idea that he just came across these on a beach, no way. Anyone who's ever been on a beach knows it's mostly just random stuff, like kind of trash and, things that wash up. I think Comey put the shells together. We'll have to see if that bears out, but that's what my sense is telling me. And is this appropriate? Was this just get rid of them, whatever? Well, how do you get rid of 47, right? He's in his final term. So you can't not elect him unless they find a way to run for a third term, but you can't not elect him. So is this a call for violence? Is this a call for an assassination? And as I point out, when I go down to these anti-Trump rallies on a near universal basis, the only one being this last one I went to, but every other one I've gone to, there are direct calls for the assassination, the murder, and the public execution of Donald Trump or Elon Musk. And is the left getting out of control here? Now, is there calls for political violence on both sides? Absolutely. Not denying that. I saw with January 6th with Mike Pence, that call to hang him. Totally inappropriate. But what I'm pointing out is that the idea that these are at the same level, I don't think is true. I think that the left regularly seeks to call for the execution of their political opponents in ways I don't see when I attend conservative protests. But prove me wrong. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Now it's time for your morning dose of Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Happy Colorado Friday. It's 47, sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 71 beautiful degrees. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Yes, and for Jim Comey, start measuring yourself there, buddy. I know you're kind of a tall guy, so go to a tall man's shop. Send your measurements over to the Bureau of Prisons because it's coming.
General Flynn said months ago James Comey needs to go to jail, and now it needs to happen. Let's get the handcuffs. The former FBI director who tried to destroy DJT 10 years ago, and General Flynn, among others, posted a photo of seashells, as Jeff just said, on the seashore that spelled out 8647. I don't know who he did it with, or he just saw them. I don't know if he did it with his girlfriend, his boyfriend, his wife, who knows. Which means 8647, which means kill Trump. Come on. He quickly took it down, and he said he didn't know what it meant. He was calling for the president to be killed. Pretty obvious to me. He's the director. He was in charge of the FBI. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, on Fox last night with Jesse Waters.
Whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who is issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with a crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So whatever James Comey intent, he and people like him need to be held to account according to the law, which is something that he claims to have given his life for and stands by the rule of law. Fantastic. The rule of law says people like him who issue direct threats against the President of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
Does she think he should go to jail?
I do. Any other person with the position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life, and James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
And these are the words of Comey himself a few years ago. Practice what you preach, Jack Wagon.
The FBI is fighting a fire of racist violence, and with words like that, the president is using a fire hose to spray gasoline on that fire.
Sounds exactly what you're doing right here. 8647 did exactly that.
Spraying gasoline with a fire hose. It creates a dangerous blaze for all of us, not just people of color, but for every community in America that has these thugs and criminals have a presence there ought to worry about this. And the president of the United States should be charged with tamping it down, not letting it free.
Big, fat love, find common ground to hold.
James Comey is a big
Worst quality oil there is on the planet, and they only gave me a drop. So I'm not thrilled. But it's better than no drop.
So in the meantime, DJT on his way back from his successful Middle East trip, a few words before taking off.
Now it's time to go back home. My daughter had a baby. I'm going to go back home and see that little baby. And then we get back to a lot of work. We'll see what happens with Russia and Ukraine. I think it's something that's just, you got to stop the killing. 5,000 people a week. 5,000 young people a week on average being killed in a war that is going nowhere. It's a shame. Should have never happened. But we have other things to do also. Plus we have an Iran situation, which we're going to take care of. One way or the other, we're taking care of. It'll be taken care of 100%.
And we're all awaiting his comments on Comey. I'm sure when he's probably sleeping right now on his way back from the Middle East. All right, the Nuggets facing elimination last night in the second round of the playoffs.
Julian Strother staying in the game. He had 8 points there off the bench. Had 9 in a game in this playoffs. Three-pointer from Jamal Murray goes down. He's got 25. Denver has its largest lead.
Murray was sick, and he still sticks 25 points. He scores 25 under the weather. Julian Strother came off the bench with 15. Jokic has 27. 119-104, Game 7 in Oklahoma City. Jokic is going to have his greatest game of the season, you would think, along with Jamal Murray. And also former Adam Foote, the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. 46 in Lakewood, 45 in Lone Tree, 47 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. TGIF. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A quiet day along the Front Range will make the low to mid-70s and partly cloudy, mid to upper 40s tonight. 70s on Saturday with not many, but Saturday afternoon and evening, a few widely scattered thunderstorms possible. Lower 70s Sunday with thunderstorm chances much higher. Sunday afternoon and evening and Sunday night. Highs low 70s, 40s Sunday night. Cooler Monday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 60s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Bill and I are talking as to whether or not we got too heated with Tony.
Yeah, did we?
Tony, thank you for the conversation, by the way.
Thank
That's
you so
fun.
much.
Sometimes you just throw down and get going.
Oh, yeah.
It gets
what the
all...
show is, though, is the thing, too.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Speaking of heating.
Yes.
It's going to start to get warmer and warmer, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
and you need a quality air conditioner.
Do you ever? Because that's been the things in our house. Because right now you've got that highs during the day and it's cool during the evening. Yeah. But how do you balance that out?
Right.
And even if you keep you open the windows at night and then you close them and you're trying to keep that cold air inside, because of the windows, it's going to end up heating anything inside the house. And then once you and the family get home, you start moving around. It's just going to be hot. And the one thing you don't want in the middle, because it's not going to get cooler as we roll into the summer months here in Colorado. May is kind of a tease as to what's going to happen June, July, and especially August. Jeff's got a company that's going to help you not be moist in all the wrong places, because that's just uncomfortable. That's just, that you're sitting on the couch and you're like, I'm just, when you're sitting there on the couch and you're sweating and you're not moving, that's a problem.
Yes.
And your family was experiencing just that.
Yep.
And saying no. So
busted AC, had to get a new furnace. So we went out there.
You got the twofer. That's not cool. So you found someone that was able to hook you up.
Yep.
Who is it?
We went out and talked with a lot of different companies, got multiple bids, and then we chose L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, because you never know. It's going to be blazing hot one moment of the day, freezing cold the next moment of the day. So when we had those problems, the pros showed up. L&L Heating and Air Conditioning installed brand new air conditioner at the house, furnace, and they absolutely nailed it. It only took one day, no stress, personal service from start to finish, and they even followed up to make sure everything was perfect. Manager texting week after, hey, Jeff, everything working out great. And we haven't had any problems at all. Our home's totally comfortable no matter what the weather. And with L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, we got peace of mind. Here's some of their deals. Free programmable thermostat or carbon monoxide detector with new furnace or air conditioner installation. No emergency charges, $0 trip fee. Price match value guarantee on equipment, free estimates, licensed and insured, and a 5-year labor warranty. Everything works great, and our family couldn't be happier. So if you're looking for fast, honest, reliable service, I highly recommend L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, 720-851-1691, online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. I'm sure glad we called them. That number again, 720-851-1691.
Jeff, I want to go back to something you just talked about with L&L, and I want to just kind of tip everybody off. Put bestdenverhvac.com into your saved bookmarks. You want to have that in your browser. And the reason why is something that Jeff mentioned right there about the idea of not an upsell or an upcharge for an emergency call, and also not a trip fee. That is incredibly important, because how many of you are going to sit there thinking, well, I think my furnace is going to go out in a couple of weeks, I better start looking. No. Just like Jeff, it's going to happen bang, and you got to call someone. And at that point, most of the companies out there know they got you by the short and curlies. Apologize about the language. But they understand they got you over a barrel. And so they're going to charge you for, one, it being an emergency call because you need it fixed now. Two, they're going to charge you just for driving your way. That's not how L&L is going to treat you. So when you have that emergency, because none of us plan for the furnace or the AC to go out, when that happens, they're the first call you need to make, because they understand that it's emergency for you, and that's not an opportunity for them to squeeze you for extra cash. Those are the kind of people we want to deal with. Those are the kind of people I'm sure you want to deal with. So put that in your browser. Make sure you call them if something happens. Or if you do have any HVAC heating issues right around the house, they're the ones to call, because they're going to treat you right. But more times than not, you're going to call them because of an emergency. Make sure you know that website beforehand. When that emergency happens, you, family members, friends, call them. They're not going to squeeze you because you're caught in an emergency. We think that's fair.
That's great. Thank you, Bill. All right, so here's the conversation we're having right now. James Comey yesterday posting on Instagram a picture of shells he said he just came upon. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, let's
Bill?
talk about that. Let's just talk about that.
The more I think about this, the more I'm like, there's no way this dude just stumbled upon this. The oceans, the waves are sending a message.
Yeah.
He put that together.
See, that's the thing is, I'm not certain that he put it together, but could have his friend sitting next to him or someone else on the beach. Yeah. And the only reason.
Drinking strawberry margaritas, and then they go, you know what? Let's do this.
Yeah, and the only
you should
reason
take a picture.
Yeah, and the only reason why is that I don't have a lot of respect for James Comey, but I don't think he's the kind of person that would arrange it himself and then say, I just found this. I talked about it last hour. I don't think he's the kind of person that would say, oh, my grandson or granddaughter just talked about string theory. Isn't this kid smart? I don't think that he is going to self-aggrandize that way. However, because of his background, is he the kind of person that would have his buddy or a family member or a friend sit next to him and that person arranges the shells and then he goes, just found this? Oh, yeah, he's that kind of person. Yeah. So I'm not certain. I'm not convinced yet that he put the shells together, but I totally am open to the idea that someone he knew that was standing next to him that he watched arrange those shells and then he passes it off this way. I'm just not willing to get it to the point of him presenting it so innocently. But yeah, it seems too performative.
So what do you think James Comey's day is going to be like today?
It's going to be awkward. And again, he should not have posted that. It was dumb. But he's done dumb things before. I mean, we can talk about him coming out and going about Hillary Clinton and the server and the emails right before the election between she and Trump. There are all sorts of tactical things. He did some things in that entire run-up to the election that tactically were just stupid. If you look at your role as the FBI director, I'm not talking about whether he was right or wrong. I'm just talking about how he, presented himself. So yeah, I think this is just as stupid. And he said some dumb things before too. So completely stupid. I think he should have a conversation. They should talk to him about it. But is anything going to come of it? No, because I don't think that the Department of Justice is going to create an intent. And what I mean by that is I know a lot of people will have some real deep satisfaction seeing James Comey in cuffs and being led away and supposedly charged with a crime, but understand the government has to prove that crime in court. And what I don't believe at this point the government would be able to prove is that he did this with intent and has a plan to help someone kill the president. Just suggesting it may not necessarily be enough to get a conviction. And it will look really, really bad, in my opinion, for Trump's Department of Justice to charge Comey and then for him to walk. That's bad press. So I don't think they're going to get a conviction despite how much everyone wants to see that. I don't think it's a chance. So I don't think they charge. If they, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, feel free to join the conversation. Are we inching our way further and further towards political violence? Bill, we were talking about some of the actual violence that's been inflicted. Obviously, the two assassination attempts against Donald Trump. You had the shooting on the baseball field where Steve Scalise barely survives. That guy,
and accurately, that was a Democrat that pulled the trigger.
Yep. And then you've had the shooting of Gifford.
Gabby
Gifford.
Gabby Giffords, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
who, that's Mark Kelly's wife.
Yeah.
She was a member of Congress. Outside, that one always really bothered me.
Oh, that one does
like
bother me
all
a lot.
Violence, clearly, but when you are outside of a supermarket, just trying to meet with constituents.
Yeah, that's the part, is meeting with constituents. And that's a time in which you have to interact with the public. Yeah,
and
that's scary.
Like I said, all that stuff is terrible. The baseball shooting, those guys are just out trying to practice for what is one of the few moments in Washington, D.C. where everybody gets together and has fun.
Yeah.
Which is the congressional baseball game. Like Jared Polis is out there pitching, right? Like it was that was always one of the moments where my wife and I would make it a point to go out because it was just a fun time.
Yeah.
And the
odd
that
thing
moment
is that,
got interrupted. But when you go to, just because I know so many elected officials and they're just trying to connect with people, and I see that as such a moment of innocence, Americana innocence.
Yeah.
Right? A member of Congress outside of a grocery store talking to people, and for that violence to take place, that was absolutely terrible. So
yeah, and it is scary. I found a poll that was conducted last year. Now again, some people will like the people that conducted the poll. Some will not. But I just want to bring the numbers together because again, I don't want us to say, hey, it's this type of poll or this or that type of poll. I just want to bring it to the table. And say, and again, it's a poll that does have a decent reputation. However, some will feel that it leans a little bit too liberal at times. But it saw that 1 in 5 Americans believe that we may need to resort to violence to solve our political divisions. And I find that a little scary, that it's 1 in 5 and it crosses both Democrats and Republicans. The percentages are different, but as a whole, think about it. You're in the grocery store. Of the 10 people you see, it more or less tells you that a number of them think that we should solve political divisions in the U.S. with violence.
How do you square that with the fact that America was founded based upon political violence?
I feel that we use that as an excuse.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a reality. So how do you, I mean, that's part of our history and tradition. So how do you square that with we don't want to be violent today?
But what were the issue is, what were the issues at that point? Because we were ruled by a sovereign. We were underneath a monarchy, and the issue was self-determination. That it was, again, everyone learned in school, the no taxation without representation, but it was a little bit larger than that. But that was the issue. Now here, you do have representation. You may disagree with it, but you do have the ability to vote and to move people in and out of office, not through violence. Exactly right. And that's the issue. Is so as long as we have that, that's why I always push back when I hear people turn. And these are the times in which my kids hate me. Because if we are in public and I hear someone mention the phrase, America, love it or leave it, oh, we're having a conversation. And this is going to be a long conversation. Because America, love it or leave it, that's what you have to say in Iran or North Korea or Russia, because you cannot impact political change. But here in America, you can. So if you don't love it, you can change it. In fact, that is the argument that many, many, many supporters of Donald Trump make, that he was fed up with the politics in this country, that he needed to effect a change, that he stepped off of his gold-plated toilet, and I'm doing that intentionally, in order to come forward and lead our country into a new golden age. That's what's been said by his supporters. So yes, here in America, we can affect political change, and we have one of the best systems in place to do so. So that's why I think it's different than the Revolutionary War, because we're not under that time. However, I do believe many, many people in our country feel that they are now under some sort of a ruler from one party or another, and so then the excuse is that they affect political violence. There were a lot of people, then I hate to bring it back to January 6th, and I'm not sitting here and blaming conservatives, but I'm saying that there were people that showed up on January 6th that felt they were the rightful heirs to our revolutionary heroes, that they were acting in the same breadth and the same ideas that our revolutionary founding fathers were. They thought they were that righteous, and they said so in court. And so that's it. I'm not, again, not blaming conservatives. I'm just saying that exists.
There's a book out there titled You Say You Want a Revolution, Radical Idealism and Its Tragical Consequences. And basically, So basically the argument of the book is revolutions take place when there isn't a pressure release valve.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
There's got to be at some point a pressure release valve in the culture, because people are naturally going to get frustrated with the direction of their political leadership. So if you have ways to release that, well, then you tend to steer away from political violence. But it's important too, and I gave a speech on this one time, especially around the 4th of July coming up, and we're getting close to the 250th year of this, to actually read the Declaration of Independence, okay? Because we fall into this category of believing that the revolution was over the taxes on our tea, okay? What you had was a systemic failure, a total collapse across all sectors of government, okay? So think about our 3 branches, okay? Let's go first, executive. You had a king that was in a country far away that you couldn't change, re-elect, any of that stuff. It was all way over there, and you were stuck with him.
And you better not argue about him, because he has been ordained by God.
Yeah, right.
So you better not argue that he shouldn't be making these decisions. Yes.
So that was the executive. All right. The legislative was controlled by the king because he could dissolve them. He could call them in faraway places without notice. And so you had no actual legislative representative. Judicially, the judges were paid for and appointed by the king. Okay, so across all three branches of government, you had no reprieve. You couldn't address your wrongs. You couldn't seek redress.
And the king could replace the judges, just like with the legislature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So you knew how, if you wanted to keep your job, you knew how you had to rule.
So when you think we might be spiraling towards political violence, or you look at the founding of our country and go, "Wow, we're a country based upon political violence." Well, yes, in a sense, you have to acknowledge that history, right? And I think it's really important for our elected officials to never forget that. But the idea that we're anywhere close to where we were at the founding of this country that required the taking up of arms against our political leaders, you need to spend time reading the actual Declaration of Independence to learn just how crazy it was. And remember, we have an entire amendment. This is the one that we always have a fun time discussing with our kids about the quartering of troops.
Oh, yes, quartering of troops, yes.
Because it seems so outlandish to our culture today that troops would just be forced into your home.
Yeah. Which is, an aside, and again, I can always bring the show into tangents a little bit, but did you hear Donald Trump's got his big, wonderful birthday parade coming up, and they're going to quarter the troops in government buildings in D.C. They're going to have to sleep in offices and stuff like that. That's great. So,
Not quite the same as putting in people's homes.
No, not at all. No, but I think it's interesting.
Here's an example.
I just think it's interesting.
I'm pulling up the Declaration of Independence to the point we're talking about. He made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries.
Yeah.
Right? So that example, he kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil powers, the quartering of large bodies of armed troops, for cutting off our trade with other parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. So, the idea that we're anywhere close today to what they had to deal with back then as Americans in this land, the loss of all three branches of government,
Yeah, the Declaration of Independence is basically an
burnt our
FU to King
towns.
George.
Yeah, he
it's a
plundered
breakup
our
letter.
seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, destroyed the lives of our people. So, just take a moment to read the Declaration of Independence before thinking we're anywhere close.
Yeah, not at all. And they're going right after King George, and it is a giant colonial middle finger to him, and well deserved. And I think that's part of the problem, is that many people view the idea that, well, it worked once, why can't we try it again? That we should pick up our arms. And I think also it's a threat of intimidation. It's the idea of, James Comey, and this is where we started the conversation, of James Comey sharing on his social media some seashells that he allegedly just found on the beach that said 8647, regardless of whether or not you think that he created it or not, I think is a good indicator of where we are as far as political violence.
We got the visual right up there. Thank you, Mark Crowley.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that. It's and again, 86 isn't necessarily directly calling for an assassination attempt, but there is an implication, and it is a call for removal one way or another. And I would submit that James Comey is smart enough to understand that impeachment at this point is not an option. He knows that based on the politics. So when people are saying that is he or could he be calling for the assassination of Donald Trump, maybe that's the implication of the post, and that's why I want to know about how it was created, or the idea that he just found it. Who knows? Someone else on the beach could have created it 3 minutes beforehand, and he's walking along and he sees it. I think it's probably more likely that someone in his group may have created it, and then he's like, "Oh, look what we found." I don't think that he is selfish enough to have created it himself and then try to pass it off. I think he's a tight bit, a little bit more clever than that one. But I've got a real question about where we think political violence is going in this country. Do we think that we may have to start shooting people? Because we hear about it quite a lot. I mean, there's a poll just from last year that 1 in 5 U.S. adults believe Americans may have to resort to violence to get the country back on track politically. And there is 20%, and it's different percentages in each group, but it's around 20% in both Democrats and Republicans. So this isn't one group or the other. And if it is 1 in 5, we get to 25% or so. It's out of 10. That gets a little scary. It gets a little scary when you're talking about the percentage of the country that believes that the solution to this country is found at the barrel of a gun.
Join the conversation. Phone lines open 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis. With Dan Caplis Law, I've known Dan for well over a decade. Pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. He's devoted his life, 40 years of service, to getting justice for people injured in car crash cases. Dan, the son of a police officer, a former seminarian, he's all about justice. Listen to these results in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Lots of text messages coming in. Bottom line, people are like, James Comey probably had too many cocktails and took that picture. That's going to be a mistake. He's done. Whatever happened to Michael Cohen, by the way? He's gone. Did he leave the country?
No. He still has stuff. I see him. He's got a podcast that he does that's somewhat.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's rather dumb. In fact, the thing that runs across some of my feed sometime is where Comey's got a thing where you can pay money, I guess, on some of his podcast while he's talking.
Cohen.
Michael Cohen. Puts the put hats on him while he's talking. Stuff like that to get money. So people pay money to do that.
Why don't we do that?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure people would love to pay to put stuff on us.
On me, yes. Oh, yes, they would. Yes, would they ever? Yes. Yes, they would. They would love to.
At that point, you just kind of like a court jester.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's kind of my role here anyway. But and I've seen Cohen, and he does that, and sometimes people have conversations with him, but it's he's hard for me to stomach for anything longer than like 30 seconds. It's a lot like when I hear Scaramucci talking too. I'm like, why do I care? Why do I care what's falling out of your face? I just don't understand.
Well, James Comey is going to have an interesting day today. I'm sure the Secret Service will be knocking on his door. Gosh, what a disaster he is. Well, I want to pivot a little bit here, talk this. More than 2,000 Starbucks baristas going on strike to protest a new dress code. I got so many texts about this because our news guy was reading about it, not Blake Olson, but one of the other news. A strike by Starbucks baristas protesting the company's new dress code. More than 2,000 Starbucks baristas at 120 stores have gone on strike since Sunday to protest the new dress code. What is this new dress code? What is so offensive that would drive you to strike? Well, it requires employees to wear a solid black shirt and khakis, or black shirt and blue denim bottoms. Bill, these. I know. I'm gonna qualify this and say not all baristas are this way, but the ones that went to university and got like a grad degree in underwater basket lesbian weaving or whatever, like a degree that's totally irrelevant. Those people that end up working at a coffee shop are these exact people that are striking over a change in dress code that requires you to wear a black shirt and khakis or black and blue blue denim bottoms. What in the world? Why are they striking over this one? I mean, it seems very petty to me. Do you have any thoughts on that, Bill?
The thing for me is what I disagree with is the color coding from the employer. I'm okay with them saying no shorts, dress shoes, have to wear a tie, shirt must be collared, polo shirt, no t-shirt, fine. Once you start regulating pattern and color, you pay for it. If you want to regulate me based on those, then you pay for it. If you're telling me that I can't go out there and choose my own specific T-shirts,
you have to wear clothes anyways. So why not just see it as a uniform and go, "This is what I'm going to have to pay for clothes anyways." Now I know exactly what I need to wear.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is. But what I'm saying is that I don't believe the employer gets to constrain my color and or pattern choices without providing me either some assistance or the clothing themselves. And what I mean by that is I've worked in restaurants in which we had assigned shirts. There were certain pattern shirts and things. Those were provided by the employer. They didn't go out and say, "Here, you have to go buy them." And they didn't go out and say, "Here's the website from the restaurant provider that you have to pay this." So the idea that I have to pay for my own uniform in order to work there, I somewhat disagree with. If you're going to make me wear a uniform, that's an investment you need to make, not on my dime. And I know that there are places that do that.
I totally disagree. This smacks of those people that wasted $80,000 on a stupid grad degree and are frustrated with their life because they ended up, making coffee for a living instead of doing what they want. And now they're told you need to wear a black T-shirt with khakis, and they just don't like being told what to do. They're my gosh.
Why does a black T-shirt matter at Starbucks? What's the purpose?
Because they want uniform clothing.
But they can T-shirts. You can wear a plain T-shirt. That's the uniform. That's uniform clothing. But why?
But they want,
why does the black? Why
well,
does
who
the black?
cares? But they're
why
the
does it
company.
matter?
The company. If the company wants you to wear pink, you have to wear pink. This is the company requiring.
I
they
wore,
have dress standards.
For
Here we have
Epicurean
dress
catering,
standards that are rather loose, but I had to pay for all this.
I know, but for Epicurean Catering, I worked for them. Bright ass pink shirt. They provided the shirt, and when it got too light, they gave me a new shirt. They wanted me to wear their uniform. They provided the uniform. I'm pretty sure.
But this protest isn't just over who's paying for it. They're calling this a restrictive new dress code.
Yeah.
A restrictive new dress code.
Oh, yeah, and
it's
I
just a bunch of
but the issue for me is if Starbucks wants them to wear a specific color T-shirt, give them the T-shirt. Don't tell everybody you got to go out there and buy your own T-shirt and we've decided what color it is. No. Sorry, you don't get to make that choice.
Jason texted in, a black shirt won't go with my purple hair and nose ring.
Actually, it'll go very well with your purple hair and nose ring. It would be the other colors that would be a problem, Jason.
Others pointing out, look, it's a tax write-off. If you have to buy it, you can write it off. If your employer is requiring a uniform or certain type of clothing to be worn as a condition of employment, it's their responsibility to pay for it.
Yeah,
7061.
their responsibility. Yeah, if it's a requirement, if you're going to require me to wear the uniform, you pay for it and give me the uniform, and then I'll wear it. But don't require me as a condition of employment to go out and buy the clothes you want me to wear.
Oh,
no,
I disagree
not on
with that.
level.
You're going to have to wear clothes. You're going to have to buy clothes anyways. You can just show up naked.
But why does my employer get to determine which ones I buy?
I mean, look,
Based
they
on
put
color.
restrictions on what we wear, Bill. I can't show up here shirtless. I had to pay for this whole get-up.
But that's not restrictions necessarily on what you're wearing. That would be no wearing versus wearing. That's
but it's still a
different,
requirement.
Though. That's different, though. And
So
not necessarily. No,
it's not.
Our employer
It's
doesn't.
exactly the same
no,
thing.
No, it isn't. Not at all. Being naked is not the same thing as telling me what clothes I have to wear.
But they're having requirements on the type of dress you wear, whether it's an all-black shirt or, in this case,
and if they want to
I can wear this.
If they want to choose the style and color, they have to provide it. Yes. But if they want to say just T-shirt and it's a plain T-shirt, yes, you can go let them buy whatever T-shirt they want. But if you're going to constrain the choices, then you need to provide it. If it's a requirement of a uniform, you're going to have to.
They're giving them 2 free black T-shirts.
Good. And then that's fine. They can give them 2 free black T-shirts. Don't complain about it. And when those black T-shirts wear out, give them another black T-shirt. Yes, absolutely. And see, that's Amazon.
It
that's
seems
Starbucks
like they're
telling them
striking
they
over
know.
this just being restrictive.
Yeah, I disagree with it, but the idea is, you want to provide them 2 black T-shirts, provide them 2 black T-shirts, and that's Starbucks admitting they need to provide the uniform because they're doing it. Starbucks understands and agrees with me. They need to provide the T-shirt. Yes.
And they are.
Yep. And then at that point, fine. Shut up and go wear the black T-shirt. Yeah, that's it. That's my point. My point is, if you want me to wear the black T-shirt, you give me the black T-shirt. I got a radio station jacket because I was in the elevator wearing a jacket from another radio station. And one of the managers looked at me and said, "You're wearing that from another radio station." The radio station didn't exist anymore. I said, "Well, yeah." So they gave me a free radio station jacket. You give me a free radio station jacket, I wear your free radio station jacket. 3 days later, guess who had a jacket on their desk? This guy right here. That easy. That easy.
People text messaging and the employer's right. You wear what the employer says. Fire them if they don't comply. I agree. To me, this just smacks up this. The type of person who went and got that grad degree. It didn't work out. Now they're hanging out in the coffee shop, and God forbid anybody tell them what to do. So they're going to go out and strike. Let's go to the phone lines. Ron Greeley. Good morning, Ron. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning, boys. Hey, I agree with Billy, but Jeff, you're right. I worked at Buc-ee's for a while back when they first opened.
Nice.
And it's you got to get your own color. They don't supply it. Now they'll give you a discount if you buy something from their source, but you don't like it. It's like what you just read. If they don't like it, don't work here. Go someplace else. It's not a requirement. They can tell you what to wear, and if you don't want to wear it, don't work there. That simple.
What if
Ron,
they charge
you're
you
right.
money to work there? What if there was a fee every month or so to work there, just for the privilege? Could they do that too? Because isn't that sort of what the clothing is doing?
Well, no, that's like saying because you got to pay gas to drive to work, they should, you're paying a fee to go to work. But
isn't it a
great
fee?
text message here, Bill. We got some T-shirts that people could buy. if
Yeah.
they want to wear them to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
A Kyle Clark t-shirt.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yes. Go to KylesKarens.com. Get your t-shirt.
KylesKarens.com. Those are allowed at Starbucks. I don't know if you know that, but we worked out a deal with Starbucks. So you can wear the all-black t-shirt or your KylesKarens.com t-shirt.
As far as you know, we've agreed with Starbucks to do that.
Hey, as far as on jumping back to Comey.
Yeah, the Comey thing. Yeah, what's on your mind?
Yeah, as far as that's concerned, the guy needs to be arrested and go to jail. And if he's found innocent, great, he's found innocent. But because you know as well as I do, if that happened to anybody else, any normal person, they would be going through that. And to say, well, maybe he tied one on and he's not feeling good. Well, what happens if somebody has tied one on and they go into a theater and yell fire, right? I mean, you're still going to get arrested and you still have to go through the hoops. If you get a slap on the wrist at that point, fine.
And the prominence of it and the prominence of James Comey is a factor here, right? But again, I see it almost every time I go to a progressive protest. Everyone but this very last one, signs calling, I mean, literally a paper mache Donald Trump hanging. There's violence on the radical left towards Donald Trump. It needs to be condemned by all Democrat leaders. Ron, I sure appreciate the call.
Yeah, thanks,
all right,
Ron.
we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. A bunch of whiny baristas are protesting a new dress code at Starbucks. Even though Starbucks is going to provide 2 of the T-shirts, it's just saying, hey, wear black T-shirt underneath your little green apron with either khaki pants or blue denim bottoms.
Yeah, again, they provide the T-shirts, fine. That's it. That's all I require. If you're going to tell, as the employee, if you're going to restrict them based on a specific uniform, which you're going to restrict color and style, you need to provide it.
To that point, 1587 texted in saying all construction companies require steel-toed shoes. Mechanic shops require you to have your own tools. Should employers pay for those as well?
That's a question. There's an issue with the mechanics. The idea being the mechanics then get to take those tools with them to the next job. And some of the reason being the idea of ownership inside of that and the apprenticeship and some of that. So I don't think it's necessarily the same. You may have a point based on steel-toed work boots. But if the employer said you have to wear this brand of steel-toed work boots and they have to be this tall, this much, and they start putting those requirements on them, then yes, the employer should. But if it's just steel-toed work boots, that's open. Just like the idea of wear a T-shirt that is plain is different than wear this black T-shirt.
Let's
so that's
go
where
to
I
the
draw the
phone
line.
lines. Artist, good morning, Artist. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, guys. I've never been a Starbucks fan. I just won't pay that much for coffee. But I remember during Trump's first term, Starbucks making an announcement, if you voted for Trump, don't bother using our coffee. I'm like, hey, no problem. That works for me.
Yeah, Starbucks is losing its. I went to a Dutch Brothers the other day for the first time. That's a lot of sugar, though. I'm not sure I can handle all that sugar. Have you ever been to a Dutch Brothers, Artist?
No, I kind of mix half and half with creamer and
Old
cold
school
coffee, and that's what I drink.
Yeah, you're simple. Simple tastes with Artist. She's very happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my coffee here, black only. I don't put anything in it.
Radio
Yeah.
station coffee.
That sounds racist.
Let's talk about that.
Black
Yeah.
only, that's a little racist, guys. I'm just saying.
Artist, fantastic. It's so good to hear from you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much for the call, Artist.
Have you been to Dutch Brothers, my friend?
We have one time.
Yeah, what do you
and
think?
it is a lot of sugar, dude.
Yeah.
Holy cow! It's like
a lot.
It's just a level that I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of
and they
those,
don't even. I don't even think they serve coffee. It seems like it's
Yeah,
all
it's all,
like crazy milkshakes with Red Bull. And
Yeah,
stuff
crazy
like
drinks
that.
and stuff. My kids love Dutch Brothers. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, jeez. I'm like, I don't think I need that kind of
I
sugar
can see
coma.
how they're giving Starbucks a good run.
Oh,
Right? 'Cause
absolutely.
Starbucks hasn't changed really at all.
No, not at all.
And it's it's just kind of the same. I think young people looking for
Yeah.
something new,
The thing-
especially if you're like a hummingbird and want to just hook the sugar up to my veins.
Oh, jeez. I always go back to the reason that I have frequented Starbucks so irregularly. I don't go hardly ever. And one of it is because of the comedian, and this has got to be at least a decade old right now, that was talking about, man, people are getting mad at gas prices. Wait until they figure out they're paying $28 a gallon for a coffee at Starbucks. And that's really the truth.
Here's a good text message, Jason from Denver. Let's just all go work at Central Perk and listen to Phoebe sing about smelly cats all day.
Oh, yes.
Well
smelly cats.
done, Jason. Way
Well
to wrap up that
done.
hour. Well, we're going to
Which one of us is
continue.
Gunther? Which one? I don't know.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Continue to have some fun. We're going to talk Trump's trip to the Middle East. What'd you think? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Jeff's Gunther. Okay, this is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.